What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. I'm a Fight Guy, Forbes contributor, and also writing for Heavy.com. We're talking UFC 249. We're into the main card. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that notifications bell as well, and leave a like. Leaving a like is super duper important for the channel. We want to see things grow. Let's talk about Jeremy Lil Heathen Stephens taking on Calvin Kattar. And I've called him Calvin Kattar. I've heard people say Calvin Kattar. I've heard people say Calvin Kattar. I'm thinking we should just say Calvin Kattar because I had a conversation with someone from his management team and they said Calvin Kattar. So I'm pretty sure they know what it is. So I think we need to change that pronunciation to Calvin Kattar. At any rate, let's look at this bout, which is not getting a lot of attention. Now, I wrote up a preview for every single fight on the main card for Forbes. And as I'm just looking at the traffic and who's interested, I kind of gauge about, which fight people are most interested in. This one's getting the least amount of love. So I'm not sure what that's about. But um, it is going to be, I think, a fairly entertaining fight on a card. It is the first major sporting event in the United States for I don't know how long. At this point, Cater is the Favorite. He's minus 230 favorite over Jeremy Stephens, and this is of course according to Bet Online. Plus 195 underdog for Jeremy Stephens. While neither of these guys is coming into the ring on a win streak, I would have to say that Cater is seemingly in a better position, obviously. Now, it's easy to look at Jeremy Stephens' last few fights and go, oh, well, you're on a losing streak. You haven't won a fight, in your last four outings. But you also have to look at who he's been fighting. If you date back to July of 2018, stopped by Jose Aldo, a nasty body shot, nasty liver shot stopped him. Then he loses to Zabit Magomed Sharipov, which is obviously there's no shame in losing that a unanimous decision in March of 2019. In September of 2019, he had the no contest with Yair Rodriguez, where he got poked in the eye and said he couldn't continue. Then a month later, he lost the actual rematch by unanimous decision to Yair. All three of those opponents that he's faced are serious guys in the featherweight division. So he's had the level of difficulty, his strength of schedule has been off the charts. So if there is a way to have a impressive or a respectable, uh, you know, losing streak like he's on, I would have to say that this what he's on would be defined as that. But Calvin Kattar's 2-1 in his last three fights. They did lose his last fight as well. He faced Magomed Sharipov in November of 2019, lost by the unanimous decision. But prior to that, he had two first-round knockouts against Ricardo Lamas and Chris Fishgold. So clearly, he's the guy who comes into this fight on more of an upswing, even though he did lose his last fight. Let's look at a statistical breakdown of what we got with these two guys. Calvin Kattar is taking 6.3 strikes per minute. I it never really dawned on me, and you had to kind of go back and look at some of the fights that he absorbs that much punishment. It really was a little bit of a shock to me. And when you look at Jeremy Stephens, he's only taking 2.98 shots per minute. So you would usually think of Jeremy Stephens as more of a brawler, but if you look at Calvin Kattar, he gets into quite a few firefights. I don't think that's something he's going to want to do with Jeremy Stephens because we know how heavy-handed he is. Now, Calvin Kattar lands 41% of his strikes to 40 for Stephens, so that's pretty much even. And he connects on 5.12 strikes per minute to just 3.09 for Stephens. So while he's taking more shots, he's obviously landing more as well. The percentages is about the same, but it's right in there. Now, Stephens, because of his power, doesn't necessarily need to land a bunch of combinations. He doesn't necessarily even need to land a higher percentage because if he gets the one shot in and it finds its mark, he can end the night pretty fast. So let's talk about the styles because the numbers are ought to obviously have a place, but styles are really what generally dictate wins and losses. Stephens is a better wrestler than most people realize, but he just likes to keep the fight standing, and that's also the case with Calvin Kattar. It'd be a surprise to see anybody shoot for a takedown, but I'd be willing to bet that if one of them does shoot for a takedown, it's going to be Stephens. And I say this because I think that he's in something of a must-win situation. I know that we talked about that losing streak being somewhat respectable because of the people that he's fought, but at the end of the day, another loss means that he's fought 5 times in a row without a victory, and he'd have 4 straight defeats of the decisions or the definitive results that he's had. He can't afford to do that. He's already got 17 losses on his career. He is a bit of a fan favorite. He's always come and shown up to fight for Dana White in the UFC. But when you get into that 4 consecutive loss, 5 fight winless streak kind of a territory, that's when you start wondering if you're going to get that phone call that says that you're not on the roster anymore. Now, Stephens doesn't seem like a guy who you would generally find himself possibly cut, but like I said, 5 fights without a win is significant. So when you see guys get desperate, that's when you see them start to somewhat play it a little safer. Stephens does have the ability to wrestle. Maybe he feels he can catch Kattar off guard, taking his man down, taking top position, just kind of riding it out in a way and maybe trying to drop some bombs in a ground and pound situation. That is totally not what we're used to seeing from Jeremy Stephens. But because of the circumstances, I'm not saying I'm predicting it to happen, but if somebody does shoot a takedown, I would be willing to bet it's going to be Stephens. So here's my prediction. I like Calvin Kattar to win this fight in an interesting and competitive stand-up battle. I think it'll have some ups and downs. Both guys take some shots, but whoever is able to come out, who's ever able to weather that storm and make some adjustments, I think is going to win this fight. I like Kattar because I think he's a little bit better judge of distance, and his strikes are a little bit more precise. I think he'll be able to avoid the really, really big shot from Jeremy Stephens. I don't think he'll chase, which sometimes gets people into trouble when they're fighting Stephens. I think he'll be able to handle him with a more effective striking game, and I think that'll lead to a unanimous decision victory for Kattar. That's all I got for you today. I appreciate you watching. If you want to check out the other predictions and odds pieces that I have for the UFC 249 card, check out that card up in the upper right corner of the screen, and you can see all of my previews for this particular card. As always, God bless and peace.